Hello and welcome to another episode of Drive With Me, the show where I mostly discuss current events and often complain about them, especially things related to politics, economics, and or lately technology. But today I actually wanted to hit on a bit more of a positive topic because I am also a therapist by trade. And so today I wanted to discuss um, the topic of mindfulness because it is something that I work with clients of mine a lot on. And fundamentally, what a lot of it comes down to is kind of embracing boredom and being in the moment that you're in, as quiet as possible, as disconnected from technology as possible, for at least small bits throughout a given day, or as often as possible, right? Some people, they just have really busy days. They don't get to it. It is what it is. But often, it can be while we're brushing our teeth or taking a shower. In fact, often taking a shower, especially if you don't have other inputs, is kind of a de facto mindfulness exercise in and of itself because it's quiet, it's easier to focus and relax our brain. A lot of our lives, especially in the modern day, is somewhat overstimulating, and it impacts our focus, it impacts our moods, it impacts our ability to connect with other people on a real level, and helps contribute to this feeling that a lot of us have of being just kind of superficial in almost all aspects of life. And so, one of the best things we can do for ourselves is functionally embrace and work with a little bit of boredom and a little bit of not always being distracted and not always being busy and truly slowing down. And there are many people, especially those that I work with a history of trauma, that have had some really messed up stuff happen in their lives. It's often very difficult for them to focus because their brains are automatically overstimulated pretty much at all times. They're often in some variation of survival mode, and they struggle to read like not like the ability to, but they struggle to read and retain things, and they find themselves often having to reread the same section over again. They often find it difficult to actually just sit down and enjoy time by themselves. They often don't like the quiet. They often want TV on in the background, or they're scrolling on their phone all the time, just in an effort to not feel terrible, basically, is how it's often described to me. And so, whether you individually watching this are struggling with a traumatic experience or background or not, is less important than using these techniques to benefit you where and how you can, right? So it's particularly important if you're dealing with trauma, because then you're talking about a very overstimulated nervous system that is just struggling to survive and make sure that it's okay. And so getting that version of yourself to relax can be very difficult. But in general, these techniques are what all of us need to do to feel that, especially in this day and age of needing to work more to earn less, and difficulty affording life, and constant 24-hour news cycles and social media news cycles and so on. It's incredibly important to make sure that we are staying in touch with ourselves and our family and our children and spouses and so on as we have them. And if you're single, then it's often easier to do so and focus on your own life and take a moment to kind of focus on your own breathing. There are a variety of mindfulness exercises. One of the most common that I use with in particular with like teenagers or people that are younger is known as the leaves on a stream exercise, right? So if you want to imagine, or how it starts is you imagine yourself next to a stream of water, calm, beautiful. You can imagine what it looks like for yourself, whether you want it to look tropical or just serene or a grassy hill or what have you, right? There, upon that stream, in this exercise, are leaves, and they are floating along the stream and they are slowly drifting by. The idea is to take thoughts as we have them, and this exercise can last for anywhere between a minute to 10 minutes if you wanted to, or even longer, depending on what you're comfortable with. And the idea is you take thoughts that come and emotions that come through your head as you're doing this exercise, and especially ones that are more negative or stress related, you mentally grab them and place them atop the leaf. Some people imagine it as like a kind of suspended bubble just above them. Other people imagine them as putting it into a jar that's resting on it. Some imagine putting a piece of paper onto the leaf with the thought or emotion written on it, right? Ultimately, you want to imagine that emotion or thought being on that leaf and drifting on by. So we acknowledge the emotion, we acknowledge the thought, but we don't hold on to it. We don't dwell on it. We don't stay there. And the more you practice it, the better you get at it, like almost anything else that we do, especially when it comes to the brain. The brain is very much a device of repetition. And quite literally, like it's a biological process, right? Of the more you do something and use a specific neuronal pathway in your brain, the thicker it becomes and the easier it is to transfer neurochemicals and neurotransmitters between them. And so the easier it becomes to do that particular thing, because our brain is literally physically changing to accommodate it. And that's how we develop any skill set. The more complex the skill, the more difficult it is, the longer it takes. However, this is how we rewire our brains. And one of the best things we can do foundationally to sustain almost anything else is being in touch with ourselves, our emotions, our thought processes, and being able to calm ourselves and learning that skill set to bring us down from a state of hyper sensitivity, right? Of very high stimulation. We need to be able to bring ourselves down. And I know a lot of this may very well sound very like therapist-y, because that's exactly what it is. But it's really fundamentally very simple, and a lot of it is, it's very self-help, level stuff as well. This is bare bones, first or second session in, I'm talking to people about these things, which is part of the reason why I enjoy discussing videos about these kind of topics, because these are almost universally applicable. And I've dealt with, over this last couple of weeks, a couple of clients that are required what we call trauma-informed therapy. And so it's very solution-focused and very, how do I bring myself down when almost everything triggers more of a response than it should, and I'm barely holding it together and not beating the heck out of people. And I'm about to, lose my home and might lose my kids, and I can't hold down a relationship, and I struggle to hold down a job, and so on and so forth. So it very much, it helps and starts developing the tools necessary to help those type of individuals struggling with those issues stabilize and take better control of their lives. It can absolutely help everyone else in the process as well. That's just the nature of this. So whether you are just looking for a way to get more in touch with yourself and more grounded, because that's also another term for it, grounding exercises. Practicing gratitude is another really good one. If you just take a moment and list 5 things that you're grateful for in this given moment before you head off to work or school or what have you, and then maybe do it again in the evening before you go to bed. And it's often good if you verbalize it out loud. You can speak to yourself in the mirror, for example. Some people do that. Others will talk to their spouse about it. Some don't feel like their spouses may throw it back at them later during an argument, so they don't want to bring it up with them. So then just keep it to yourself. That's fine too. But just being aware of what you're grateful for, and keeping ourselves out of that rut of always being stressed and angry and frustrated about what isn't going our way, and reminding ourselves of the things that are, can be a pretty powerful thing, especially when added up over time. A lot of these things, it's kind of like exercising. It adds up over time, and the more consistent you are, the better results you get. Right? That's a lot of how this works with the brain in general. So our moods are actually more under our control than a lot of people would believe. And I still very much struggle with that. I think most people do. Being in this field as a therapist, it really just opens your eyes to how flawed we are as people as well. And in fact, that's why a lot of us get into this work, is grew up in families or ourselves struggling with issues, and we want to figure it out. and we want to be better and do better and help people be better because we've seen the dysfunction in our own lives. And that was in many respects the case with me. And so these things are beneficial wherever you're coming from at pretty much any stage of life. And you guys want more, you're interested in additional exercises or options, right? Or even just higher levels of it. Um, Googling, honestly, is a great way to go about that. I know I use a lot of worksheets and videos and exercises from therapistaid.com. There's also the social workers toolbox that has some pretty great exercises, though that skews more towards children. And but it's also a great resource. And YouTube has a bunch of stuff. In fact, I've seen a number of TED Talks and stuff. In fact, in classes that I've taught, I often use TED Talks because they are fantastic often. And so there's lots of resources out there. It's more a matter of figuring out what works best for you and then trying to develop those habits. And those foundational ones are important for all of us, man. They really are. So that was really all I had today. So if you made it this far, thank you for sticking around. If you liked the video, please feel free to hit the like button. Otherwise, that was pretty much it. So I hope all you guys have a good day. And on from when I'm recording this, it is a Friday, so I'm excited about to head into the weekend here. Hope everyone's doing well, and y'all take care. We'll talk soon.